So the progression of title changes for the Freakier Friday franchise, now I guess we can call it, has been funny. Freaky Friday back in 2003, Freakier Friday in 2025, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say if they make a third movie, it'll be 3 Freaky, 3 Friday? That was stupid. How about Freakiest Friday? Also stupid? Alright, then maybe they shouldn't make the third movie. But what did I think of the legacy sequel, Freaky Friday? Well, I'm here to tell you that it wasn't terrible. But was it good? We'll get into it. So let's get started. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today we're getting right into all of my spoiler-free thoughts on Freakier Friday. And I still am trying to wrap my brain around the fact that we have a sequel to one of my favorite childhood comedies, Freaky Friday, back in 2003, starring Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, who are returning for this legacy sequel, alongside some newcomers who we'll talk about in a little bit. A huge thank you to Disney Studios for giving me the chance to watch this in person for review. Now, I did watch it in a Dolby Cinema theater, and let me tell you something. The projectionist, whoever runs these theaters, it's okay to leave the volume, at a nice level, but putting it at an 11 in a Dolby theater is too loud. The earplugs were in. But guys, it was definitely an experience because on one hand, the nostalgic movie critic in me was like, I love this. And then on the other hand, I'm like, hold on. Okay, maybe too much nostalgia. But before we get into all of my positives, negatives, and my overall thoughts on the film, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and we are so close to 30,000 subscribers. Will we be doing a live stream at that point? Absolutely. Are we going to be doing something else? Maybe like a giveaway? Maybe, but we got to get there first. So thank you for your support, and get loud in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts on Freakier Friday. Did you like it? Could you have waited for streaming? We'll talk about that too. Or did you have some other thoughts? I just want to know. Alrighty, y'all. So let's get into what this movie's all about if you're unfamiliar. Freakier Friday is in theaters August 8th and is directed by Nisha Ganatra, who actually directed The High Note, a movie we reviewed here on the channel. It stars not an ensemble cast, but some recognizable names, like Lindsay Lohan, who plays Anna. We have Jamie Lee Curtis, who plays Tess. Julia Butters, who plays Harper, Anna's daughter. Sophia Hammons, who plays Lily, which is Manny Jacinto's character, Eric's daughter. So Manny Jacinto, awesome actor. Of course, I love Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. Julia Butters is good. Sophia Hammons? Yeah, Sophia Hammons I'm unfamiliar with. But for the most part, this cast, well, I was willing to give it a shot. And the movie, without spoiling, is set, 22 years after Tess and Anna endured an identity crisis, the body swap. Y'all remember. Anna now has a daughter and soon-to-be stepdaughter named Lily. As they navigate the challenges that come with two families that merge together, Tess and Anna discover that lightning might strike twice. Spoiler alert, it does, because we have Freakier Friday, where they do a 4-person body swap. That's right, Anna's swapping places with her daughter, and Tess is swapping places with her soon-to-be granddaughter. Mamma mia, soon-to-be step-granddaughter, actually, sorry. So there's a lot going on, and for like 20 minutes I was still trying to remember who's in whose body. But guys, it's time to get right into the positives and what I took away from this movie that I liked. Because again, like I said at the top of this review, I don't think this movie's terrible. I just think, okay, we'll get there in the negatives. Let's start with positive number 1. For me, it was truly great to see Lindsay Lohan on the big screen yet again. Guys, she's gone through it. She's doing much better now, thank God, because she was one of my favorite child actors. Growing up, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so funny. She's so good in Parent Trap. She's so good in Freaky Friday. And, it was tough to see her go through what she went through, but I'm glad her little renaissance is happening, and she still has the comedic timing that you loved when she was a child actor here in Freakier Friday. I loved how she carried the essence of the character from that 2003 film, but now she's forced to play as a mother who finds herself in love with a man who ends up being the father to her daughter's arch enemy at school. So the foundation is there for a lot of funny moments, of course, and there were some funny moments. So I did enjoy Lindsay Lohan a whole lot on screen, and I loved her chemistry with Jamie Lee Curtis. Both Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis looked like they had fun together, and it bled into the final product in Freakier Friday. The best moments of this movie always involved both of these actors. There was never a moment that I thought was a standout that didn't have these two involved, or, I mean, heck, they were usually in front of our faces as leads in scenes on their own as well. These two were always together in this film, and it was so beautiful to see because their chemistry was awesome. It was aces, guys. I mean, there were times where I'm like, man, just keep the cameras rolling. They're so funny together. But I enjoyed their back and forth. They had great banter. And to be honest, if you are going to see this movie in theaters, I'll tell you whether it's worth that or not at the end of this movie review. But if you do buy a ticket, they alone are going to at least be worth the price of like a matinee ticket. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed them, and I just thought, man, if it wasn't for them, this movie would be absolutely trash. But because of them, the movie does get saved in some instances. Now for this next positive, listen, I can't tell a lie. I'm not a good liar, guys. But I did laugh a handful of times in this film. The jokes weren't always great, but there were some quality jokes that got me, especially when they were talking about the generational divide between two young Gen Zers, maybe Gen Alpha, but really more so Gen Z, compared to older millennial and boomer. So it was really fun to see that back and forth, especially when it came to the physical humor. Jamie Lee Curtis has a decent amount of physical humor in this movie that made me laugh, and I'm thinking, oh man, she's really good here. Now the last positive I have has to do with nostalgia. And while most of the nostalgic moments were a bit heavy-handed in this movie, there were a couple that I enjoyed. At the top of the list is the music moment at the end. You hear the "I don't wanna grow up," and you're like, heck yeah, you know what I mean? But then you hear another song and you're like, no, it's pretty sweet, you know, it's very nice and heartfelt. So I enjoyed that moment at the end. It was a good use of nostalgia, and sometimes throughout the film I'm like, oh man, yeah, Chad Michael Murray, that's cool. But for the most part, I think fans who are coming to this just for nostalgia will like the other scenes more than me, because like I mentioned, sometimes a little bit heavy-handed approach. I'm thinking, okay, if we're just riding on nostalgia here, that this is what's keeping the ship afloat, that's not enough for me. So now, you guys, it's time to get into my negatives. And yes, like I said, the movie ain't terrible, but it ain't very good. Now, sadly, the movie, the reason it falls so flat is because Freakier Friday's emotional message, the heart of the film, it doesn't beat, for me, it falls pretty flat. And that's due in large part to the sloppy editing here and the really poor writing. I mean, at times, I could just feel this was a straight-to-streaming release. And it was. At one point, this was going to go straight to Disney Plus until Jamie Lee Curtis came to its rescue, called everybody, top brass, made a ton of phone calls. According to The Guardian, she's the one who got this movie to go to a theatrical release first, and then, of course, after its theatrical window, go to Disney Plus. Which to me says a lot, because in the final product, you feel that. At least to me, I mean, there are so many times where scenes were just not transitioning properly from one to another. Sentences were being cut off. There were times where you think that the scene would breathe. There was a funny moment and you would think you'd linger on that, and they just cut to something brand new. And I'm thinking, okay, let's calm down here, please. This movie felt a little unfinished at times as well. And I did see that in the technical department. I mean, there were so many moments where the filmmaking and the actual camera work, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did they put much thought into this for a theatrical release? I mean, it could work for a straight to streaming. So that's why I think there was a little bit of a divide. Now, I don't know the post-production process here, but it did feel to me, they went back to this film after the switch up to theatrical, and they were like, all right, well, we can't go and reshoot, so let's just edit this together. And it felt a little Frankenstein at times. Now, when it comes to the script, guys, the writing for me was pretty poor, and it didn't really do much to build character development outside of Tess and Anna. The newcomers in this movie, to me, weren't given a lot of love and care. I mean, there were instances where I thought, alrighty, why do I care so much about Harper and Lily's beef? It just feels like means to an end. There wasn't a really solid resolution either between them. Like, you knew what was coming, and I'm not saying it needed to be unpredictable, but I wish it would have just hit harder. And that would have happened if they cared more about these newcomers. And when it comes to Manny Jacinto's character, well, I'm sorry. I think there were times where I know he can act and I know he can do well, but the script that was given to him, that goes for the other two, Julia Butters and Sophia Hammons as well. I do feel like they were given a script that called for performances that were two-dimensional. The characters also read as generic, and that's sad because you would think that this movie would, play to their strengths and let them have fun, and maybe they were behind the scenes, but I just couldn't buy the chemistry among them. And when it comes to style, maybe some identity to this movie, there's not a lot of flair in this film. And that was an issue I had with the director's other film, The High Note. They're a good cast, a decent premise, but no visual flair. And I know that this movie's I'm not looking for like Dune level of cinematography, but can it at least not feel like it was made for TV? And that's my biggest issue, honestly, in so many moments. And by the finale, it just landed flat enough for me to where I was disconnected from the film. And the movie expects us as an audience to fawn over the nostalgia of these moments, but I saw through it. There's even an extended blooper reel in the credits that is trying to get you to, I guess, laugh more so and forget about what you saw. I don't know. Maybe that was just the cynical part of me thinking that, but it does, in my opinion, feel like when a movie gives an extended blooper reel in the credits, if the movie wasn't very funny before that, well, or very good, the blooper reel is probably being used to sort of get you to remember the last few scenes because the bloopers were kind of funny, but I'm not forgetting about the rest of the film, which did not feel very well put together. So my final thoughts, you guys, on Freakier Friday is, well, you gotta just wait for Disney Plus. If you really want to see this movie, if you really want to relive your childhood, and you loved the first film enough to where you can say to yourself, yeah, I'll spend $18 on this movie, do it, because I can't stop you. But if you're watching this and you're on the fence, I would say wait until Disney Plus, because that's how this movie feels. It does feel very much meant for the Disney Plus experience. If I watched this at home, maybe I would have liked it a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. I just think that this film does well with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, but it doesn't do very well with the other newcomers, and they're a big part of this film. And for this movie to have worked, this legacy sequel to really have hit for me, I think you needed to develop a stronger story around them, and instead they rode on two things: the nostalgia of this film, or of the original for this film, and the second thing they rode on was Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan being able to mask the deficiencies of this movie in every other department, like the writing, directing, and the editing. So as much as I really wanted to just enjoy this film and remember my childhood, I did remember my childhood, and I love Freaky Friday. But then there's this film, and as much as I love Freaky Friday, Freakier Friday wasn't better or even as good as the original. Instead, it was just not a good film on its own. So yeah, Freakier Friday is very much a meh movie for me. It's not going to end up on my worst of list, but it definitely is not going to be a film that I think is going to be memorable, other than maybe you think of legacy sequels to comedies or other films that just fall flat. So there you have it, you guys. That's my real review of Freakier Friday. I just wish I loved this movie a little bit more, but I didn't. If you did, though, let me know in the comments below where you think that the film did well and which performance was your favorite. And hey, if you haven't already by this point, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and like this video, because we got more movie reviews coming. I mean, we're getting out of the movie season for summer, and it's time to gear up for fall. I'm super excited. Alrighty, y'all. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll catch you at the next screening. When I did that just now, I thought that, maybe like in Freaky Friday, switch bodies with another YouTuber. Thank God that didn't happen. Or did it?